You are interrupting my work.
Your work. The work of the devil.
Hans.
Please, Father. You can't. No!
The Evil of Frankenstein. The evil of a man who created a monster by crude surgery and harnessed the tempestuous forces of nature to give it life. The Evil of Frankenstein unleashed a monster that terrorized a whole community. Peter Cushing as the Baron, and Peter Woodthorpe as the ruthless Professor Zoltan, who fought the Baron for control of the monster. Oh, he'll understand you, all right. He just won't obey you. That's all. Duncan Lamont as the chief of police. Katie Wilde and Sanderels as two young people caught up in the evil of Frankenstein.
Go back and kill him.
Hello, welcome to Movie Humpers. My name is Bob Sham.
And I am Frankenstein. Monster.
Angela's showing a little bit of behind the scenes on how they do the costume for this movie for the creature here.
Yeah, this is in progress. It's not, green yet, but
before
this is the first layer.
Before they wrap the paper mache around your face.
Yeah.
This is it. Welcome to Movie Humpers. My name is Bob Sham.
I am Angela.
Right, we said that. And it is Halloween Hump Fest all month long. On Wednesdays, we're calling those Hammer Horror Hump Days, a different Hammer horror. Talk about a couple of hybrid adventure horror, then a psychological thriller horror. Well, we're back into that pure horror, in which we're talking about a fellow by the name of the Baron of Victor Frankenstein. One of the movies that popped off strongly for Hammer horror is a movie called The Curse of Frankenstein. And much like the horror of Dracula, it was Hammer's version of the Frankenstein story. And it was a big hit. And they realized from there, like, oh, it may be more profitable for us to be more of a horror studio production instead of a classic noir. And also, The Curse of Frankenstein was a bit of a godfather of gore horror in the sense that you're seeing the Frankenstein story retold in full color. And Frankenstein's messing with body parts and shit. So you're seeing all this creepy stuff. So people had a very visceral reaction when they saw that. But we're not talking about The Curse of Frankenstein. We're talking about 2 movies later, because this movie is on this DVD selection I have. But someday we should get back to The Curse of Frankenstein. But
I would love that.
I am a little more interested in the extended world past the main Frankenstein story. I've read that book. I've seen the Universal Monster movie I've probably seen the most is probably the original Frankenstein. I kind of like to see the next chapters of those with The Bride of Frankenstein. I kind of got that thrill from that. This is The Evil of Frankenstein from 1964, directed by Freddie Francis, written by John Elder, based on characters by Mary Shelley, starring our dog, Peter Cushing, Kiwi Kingston, Sandora Lace, Peter Woodthorpe, and Katie Wilde. Cinematography by John Wilcox. We started a list in our Mouth of Madness recording where we're talking about directors and actors who are our dogs, right? These are the ones that we're always going to ride for. And I want to backpedal a little bit because we made John Carpenter our dog. And then you named David Lynch. Now look, David Lynch, one of our favorite directors, right?
Yes.
I love David Lynch. I get it. Twin Peaks, one of my top 3, maybe number 1 show of all time.
Blue Velvet.
But think about David Lynch when
Mulholland Drive.
And we think of David Lynch, you know, he's like a weirdo with a folksy streak in him.
I just had 2 Cokes, 2 cookies and a Coke. It's phenomenal.
When he's coming out against commercialism, it's very charming. But then he's going to start talking about transcendental meditation and how much he charges for those. Would our dog charge us that much for transcendental meditation?
Is he the top of that pyramid actually, or does he just really believe in it?
He does believe in it.
I know he believes in it, but did he create it?
He didn't create transcendental meditation.
But he created the monopoly that is getting money all over the...
I don't know if it's a monopoly, but yeah, that's like if I ever meet David Lynch, I'd want to talk to him about anything but TM. I know this is important to him, but I don't want to buy into it.
Okay, you're right.
Look, it's not that we don't think he's amazing or one of the great American directors of all time.
We couldn't hang with him, though.
But you got to be a special kind of person to be our dog. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
You got to almost get down in the mud with us a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of good people that won't get in the mud with you, all due respect. But the dog, our dogs... You got to get in the mud. So
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying.
I accept
like
that.
Like Peter Falk.
Peter Falk goes on the motherfucking
dog,
list.
You know?
So that means our list so far is John Carpenter, George Romero, Harry Dean Stanton, Peter Cushing,
Peter Cushing,
and Peter Falk.
Peter Cushing is in this movie, the Baron Victor Frankenstein, in all of the Frankenstein movies.
I'm going to take my Frankenstein head off.
Yeah.
Because I taped it to my actual face.
And this is the third iteration, the third in Hammer's Frankenstein series. But it doesn't seem to... We know that the Baron, as they call him, has the history of creating monsters. So it's just we're following him along as he's making creations and going forward. And he's got this homie with him. His name is Hans.
Hans is in love with him.
So we open up and he's digging up bodies, as you do. And
that's not what's happening at all.
Well, they take a body.
The body has just died, and they have someone pull it out the window and steal it. It's like just dead. They didn't dig it up. It's like fresh.
And the Catholic priest comes in and is like, "What are you doing, Victor?
The thing that
You're an ass." I figured the Catholics would be into zombies.
The reckless abandon with which this particular Victor Frankenstein approaches his life starts at the very beginning of this movie when he has paid someone to steal this body. But does he stay in his lab and let this person go steal this body? He creeps in the woods and watches. He is there.
He's weirdly confident. He's a little sociopathic, at least to get to his aims. But there's something about this Frankenstein, as depicted by Peter Cushing in this movie. Number one, he's serving cunt throughout this whole movie.
Blasphemer, foul desecrator of graves.
You realize that you're trespassing.
This is my parish.
And this is my property. So will you please leave?
How dare you?
You are interrupting my work.
Your work. The work of the devil.
He is the best part of this movie. Just how direct and rude he can be. But also, he kind of has a soft spot, you know? He's like one of those, like an anti-hero type almost in this movie. Well, he gets run out of town. He decides that he and Hans, they're going to start all over in their old town called Carlsbad.
Hans did not live there before. Hans does not know what happened. He just knows that the Baron has a big old house there that he says he can never go back to because they'll try to kill him. They ran him out of town.
And they do roll into town, and they just like, I love how bold he is. He's like, oh, there's a carnival going on in town.
No one will know us.
Well, they do put on domino masks, but he goes into this pub, and the bartender comes up. It's very busy because it's carnival.
Landlord.
All right.
I want you to take my order.
Can't you see I'm busy?
It's nice for you. I'd like 2 glasses of wine, some fresh bread, and hot soup.
We're not serving meals.
Your license is an inn, aren't you? That license requires that you serve food as well as drink. You have my order. Just fill this up properly before you go, will you? Thank you.
The guy's like, we don't have any soup. And he's like, Yeah, you do. Go make me some fucking soup, bitch.
Fill up my glass a little more.
Yeah, a little bit more. What's
leave.
this? Why are you going halfway here?
He hasn't even drank his wine. And he looks across the room and sees his old nemesis,
the Burgermeister,
and the chief of police.
And the Burgermeister is wearing one of his old rings. Victor can't just sit there quietly and plot. He's like,
That ring the Burgermeister's wearing, it's mine.
You cannot do anything about it.
He's stolen it. Keep your voice down.
He stands up after saying these are two of his enemies and yells for the Burgermeister to be arrested for theft.
The ego is great. So juicy here.
The chief of police looks at him and says, "Do I know you?" And then Hans is like, "We gotta get the fuck out of here." And so they run.
You know, the classic Victor Frankenstein book and old school movie, he's a man who's torn, who's like Natalie Imbruglia, he's torn within the bounds of his own mortality. He's the scientist guy that can do something that no one else can do. But once he makes it, he's just all twisted up with the results of it and the morality of it, and it kind of makes him come off like a whiny little bitch sometimes. Not in this movie. Not this movie. Peter Cushing, this is the swaggiest Victor Frankenstein we have seen so far.
He's self-righteous.
Yeah, and I love it.
Yes. He does not even wait a day. That very night, he goes to the Burgermeister's house to confront him and realizes that the Burgermeister has stolen all of his furniture, all of his clothes, jewelry, everything, and he says, "You need to give it back to me." Then the chief of police shows up,
and then
he's not wearing his mask. They know who he is.
He goes into the room, and the Burgermeister's mistress is in there.
I think, it could be his wife, but she's a young thing with big old boobas.
But so he's shut everyone out while she's still in the bedroom, and he's like making his escape through some sheets.
This is the most exciting thing that's happened in her bedroom
But
ever.
She doesn't seem to mind. She's kind of charmed. She's rizzed up by Victor here, who's totally swagging.
I would have been like, take me with you.
Yeah, and he escapes. And so they decide to go up back to their old, and we see a shot of his old castle. It's like it's not just a big mansion. It's a fucking castle. It looks like one of the Christopher Lee Dracula's castles. And it's just so funny. He's like, "Oh, that's where my old place is." And it's just this massive building just overlooking the old town. Now, granted, the townsfolk probably think it's cursed or something. But if you ran this guy out of town 10 years ago, I'm moving up to the big fucking manor.
Well,
they did take the furniture.
When they go there, it's ransacked, and that's why when he sees the Burgermeister, he freaks out because he thinks, "Oh, you're the one that took all my shit."
Yeah, which he did.
He did. There's also strung up in the basement where his lab was of the house is an effigy of him hanging by the neck.
Yeah.
So they definitely think the place is haunted by the terrible things he did. So Hans says, "Tell me this motherfucking story." And we go back in time.
Yeah.
And he is playing himself as he should. It's less than 10 years ago. They don't say how long. Less than 10.
It's not a recap of another movie, which I thought, because we hadn't seen those. The other Frank Hammer
horror. He just looks younger because Peter Cushing can do anything.
It's like prequel to Frankenstein almost. Right?
Well, it's
story.
The night that he brings Frankenstein to life. So it is
the creature.
The creature. Sorry, the creature.
I don't really fucking care if people call the creature Frankenstein, but it's so much more distinct here in the Hammer horror because the franchise itself is only centered on Victor, and he's like either the villain or the weird anti-hero in all these movies. You know. Mm-hmm. It's like he's got a superpower, which is bringing things from the dead. You know.
Yeah. So they show this old memory of the night that he was able to bring the creature to life. He did not yell for us, which would have been great.
It didn't say it's alive.
Didn't say it. The creature is like 8 feet tall, has the most ridiculous shoes on, and has a box for a face. And I don't understand the costume, but it's fine.
He looks like shit.
He looks like shit. Victor
he's got a fucking piñata on his face.
It's like
and a couch cushion on his forehead.
They go so close in on his eyes multiple times, and they did not even bother to black out the skin around his eyes.
No, they did.
There is one part where you can see.
Maybe they forgot it that day.
No makeup flesh.
The creature played by Kiwi Kingston, a big-ass New Zealand fellow.
His chin is exposed, and it's painted green. Yeah. It just looks so ridiculous.
It really is more of the Christopher, if you see the images from Curse of Frankenstein, Christopher Lee is the monster, and he looks kind of different than Boris Karloff. This monster is more coming off of the Karloff style and look, but it looks the shittiest looking monster.
It doesn't, it looks like the worst door-to-door Halloween costume that your mom made last minute.
We're not kidding. It's paper mache wrapped around a box that you had on your head earlier in the episode.
Literally a square with points.
But he is big.
It's so bad.
You know, with Karloff's makeup, it was like you could see his features so he could still act.
Yes.
Are they covering this guy's face up because he's not really delivering the face? You know what I'm saying?
You can be a deadpan Frankenstein without paper mache on your face.
As far as his physical movements go, it's no big deal.
No, he does fine.
Well, in this flashback, the creature comes back and Victor gives him meat. And he gets so horned up over meat that he uncontrollably just goes out and just kills a flock of a herder.
He doesn't want cooked meat. He wants raw meat.
So he goes crazy, and then this creature gets shot
by a mob.
And we don't know what happens to the creature, at least not at this point.
Well, we see he climbs up the mountain, and he gets shot in the head, and he falls.
And so Victor
runs.
He gets run out of town.
Fast forward to where we are.
He encounters this guy named Zoltan, who's like this like a hypnotist guy.
But first, before he gets to that part, they meet this girl, and they are being chased. And this girl who does not speak and cannot hear tells them to come up the mountain with her, and she gets them shelter from a storm. And then they go to sleep. They wake up, and Victor hears her mumbling. She can't really speak, but it's almost as if she's praying. And he goes and finds her, and she is on her knees in front of this huge piece of ice in which the creature has been frozen in time for less than 10 years since Victor was here. And truly, he looks at it and goes, "It's like he was waiting for you." That's what Hans says.
He looks like a giant. He looks like a giant action figure wrapped in plastic. But you can see the shot of it above my head. And I mean, Freddie Francis, he's got the skills, and the cinematographer's not bad. I mean, we're ragging on this monster hard, but not many complaints beyond that.
And they take him back to the lab, and they take the girl with them. She comes too because she has a connection with the creature, though the creature doesn't know who she is because he's been in ice. They bring him to life. He can technically move, but he is not responding. His brain is not awake, and that's when
they go and fetch this guy who's in trouble in the town of his own right because he's doing his carny shit without a license, apparently. So Victor brings him up.
He says he can hypnotize people.
And he thinks the hypnotist can trigger something in the creature to raise him up. But the hypnotist he's a rascal. He's a drunk. He manages to make Frankenstein respond, or the creature respond, but the creature is only responding to him. So he sits in front of Victor, and he's like, "All right, we're going to do this, but we're all in on this together." And in keeping with Frankenstein stories being kind of gay, the way he describes this arrangement.
A partnership in our handsome friend here. 3-way. You, the young one, and me.
I agree.
So I have to agree, Hans.
I have no choice.
Sounds like they're in some gay throuple here.
He says 3-way.
He says 3-way.
Hans, Victor, and Zoltan.
And you're getting that Hans is gay too because he loves Peter Cushing. Victor
he stands very close, and he's very concerned, and he would literally die for him. He's scared for a second, and then Zoltan immediately, he only thinks about the next 5 minutes. And so he, like you said, hypnotizes Frankenstein, and he's the only one that Frankenstein will listen to. And so Peter Cushing's like, okay, we have to keep him. Immediately, he gets drunk, and that night shows the creature Gold and says, go into the town and bring back Gold, and I'm going to tell you where to go to find it. Well, here's a couple problems. Even if you tell him where to go, he doesn't know what a church is. He doesn't know what the streets are, but he manages to go to the church and steal the gold crosses and bring them back. But guess what? This is so fucking stupid because he's talking about how they're going to make all this money. They're going to travel around and they're going to take Frankenstein everywhere and they're going to make all this money. Well, if one person sees him and he gets shot, money gone.
And Zoltan is like, I want you to go punish the Burgermeister and the chief of police.
And he says, they need to be punished.
And so he sends them down. I don't know how the creature's going to know who they are. This is a big weird flaw in the story.
He goes to the Burgermeister's home and walks into his bedroom. How?
Oh, the mute deaf girl that helped them in the cave is just hanging out at the castle, and it's all cool. She
can't do anything to help because she can't hear what's being said, and she can't speak to tell anybody.
But they send the creature out there, and he kills the Burgermeister. And the creature thinks he kills the constable, but it was a guy dressed like a constable clowning the constable.
Certainly, Burgermaster. Make way for the Burgermaster and his bride! All clear for the Burgermaster!
That was funny.
And so the creature comes back, but the constable is still out there, and they know something's up.
And Zoltan is like, I didn't say to kill them. What the fuck did you think you were sending
I don't know
a monster?
what
You were sending a monster.
Zoltan is like Oliver Reed levels of drinking in this movie.
I thought for a second he was going to hurt our little girl, but he didn't.
Because
she's not a little girl, but she's just young and
he just wanted to scare her because he's gay. He's not really sexually harassed.
Right, because he's in a three-way. Or wants to be.
Or wants to be, but Victor's biding his time and Hans is like, bro, this guy's a fucking wreck.
Well, he comes back with blood on his hands and she's trying to clean him up, and this is when Frankenstein says, get the fuck out of my house. I don't care. You are bad. Zoltan.
Now, this movie's called The Evil of Frankenstein.
He's not.
Not that evil.
Zoltan is the evilest.
We wouldn't have batted an eyelash if he just fucking speared fucking Zoltan right there. Like, who gives a fuck? Don't let him leave.
Because Zoltan immediately finds a grate and has the creature sneak him back in, and he tells the creature that he has to kill Frankenstein.
But the creature's like, fuck you.
Yes.
Takes the wrought iron spike from the grate and just stabs Zoltan.
Yes, but then he runs.
The whole town knows that this creature is running around, and it's probably got to have something to do with Victor. And Victor gets arrested, but he's actually not responsible for what the creature is doing at this point. And someone who was a witness to the creature doing something while it was brainwashed clarifies a bit of Victor's story, and so the constable's like, well, I guess it wasn't you, Victor, even though he's still guilty of like crimes from like 2 movies ago. I don't know. But so Victor, the town is losing their shit again, and Victor goes up to confront the monster. And how does this end?
I can't remember.
Hold on.
At this point we were just laughing.
Well, they're in the lab, and the creature's losing his shit.
Oh, isn't he breaking things and throwing things? And he gets drunk. The creature gets drunk because he comes back, and he's like holding his head. It hurts so bad. And the girl wants to help him, so she gives him wine. And at first he throws it, and then he drinks all the wine.
He drinks chloroform that Victor uses to escape prison. They don't let him out.
He thinks it's another bottle of wine.
So he chugs it.
Yes, he did escape.
And then the lab just gets wrecked, and then we see it
this is the fire.
And we see it, the fire happens, and then we see a distant shot of it blowing up as people observe. And it actually looks really cool because I'm pretty sure it's like one of those miniatures that is blowing up as they're like the actors are looking up. It's like a little practical effect that I actually thought looked really cool. But seemingly the creature and poor Baron Victor Frankenstein are dead.
And the girl and Hans got away.
Yeah. Wow. Apparently in the follow-up to this, like he's resurrected and like there's some soul, like he can transfer souls and stuff. I don't know, but it gets wild. But but that is The Evil of Frankenstein from 1964, directed by Freddie Francis. And look, the creature looked terrible. All right.
So bad.
The notion that he knows exactly where to go and who is to kill makes no sense whatsoever. But Peter Cushing, that risen rascal, he's kind of a good guy in here in a weird way. He's very selfish, but like he doesn't kill Zoltan when he probably should.
Yeah, he should have.
We wouldn't have blamed him.
If he had killed Zoltan, the whole thing could have gone differently.
He should have. You fucked up. It's trying to turn a new leaf. I think Hans has softened Victor. So Victor's more the anti-hero. He actually goes to kind of confront the monster. In a way, he might have saved the town from this creature's rampage. And then what? He would have had to resurrect the whole town from the dead with cardboard box foreheads and paper mache masks, you know? The Evil of Frankenstein from 1964. We're going to give it 1 through 5 each combined for best out of 10. I don't think it's that bad. It just looks shit. And there
were just moments that were ridiculous.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Peter Cushing alone brings it from mid to a 3.
Same.
6 out of 10. This is why Peter Cushing is our dog.
Everything is better with Peter Cushing.
Also the best Star Wars villain out of all of them.
Yes.
The Evil of Frankenstein is in between the movies The Ladies' Man, the Jerry Lewis movie, and a movie we have not quite discussed yet. I think it comes out on tomorrow, the Amityville Horror. Spoiler. We're hitting on the B- a lot this month, but I mean, a B and up is still a recommend, you know?
Yeah, it's a fun B.
Yeah, these are fun Bs. Fun Bs.
You ever heard of a B movie?
That means something different, but yeah, I know what you mean. Or when we call it a B movie, it's a little different. All right. But that does it for the Hammer Horrors for this year. You better believe it will be back. It will be back.
We love you, Hammer Horror.
The Hammer Productions. We do. We really enjoy it. We have a lot of fun with that production studio. All right. So, yeah, tomorrow is the Amityville Horror. So check out that for our True Threat Thursday. All right. So see you later.
Happy Halloween.